Zhong Kui was the very first victim from workplace bullying. Yeah, workplace bullying is very bad. And guys, say no to that. Workplace bullying, sexual harassment, all that kind of stuff. Hell, when I go to work tomorrow, I'm gonna tell my boss to suck my dick. Hey boss, if you're watching this, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean any of it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jay the Storyteller, and I'm going to talk about the thing that you're all wondering about. Yeah, Game Science's new game, Black Myth Zhong Kui. Honestly, it was shocking to us Chinese players as well. You know, as obviously we were expecting a new DLC for Black Myth Wukong. But hey, it is what it is. Now that we have one more game to look forward to. So today we'll be looking at Zhong Kui, the most worshipped ghost-catching god in Chinese culture. Hopefully can help you understand who he is and what to expect in the game. Well, without further ado, let's begin. Just like the host was saying, Zhong Kui is a ghost-catching god wandering between hell and earth. So allow me to briefly introduce the hell in Chinese mythology. You know, as the game is obviously about that. So what's the Chinese version of hell? Well, personally, I'd prefer to call it Difu, the underworld, as it's a very complicated system, and hell is just a small part of it. In Chinese mythology and folklores, the underworld is where all the souls go when they die. Good or evil, they go to the underworld all the same, where they'll be judged by their past behavior to decide their fate. If you are a good person, you don't have to suffer from anything and just reincarnate. If you had done a lot of good things, you might even reincarnate and born in a royal family in your next life, you know, as a reward for such kindness. If you had been a dick, you might just reincarnate to be a pig to be slaughtered. Yeah, as the consequence of being a dick. And worse, if you had been a complete scumbag for your whole life, you would be sentenced to suffering in hell, to wash away your sins before you can reincarnate. So, as you can imagine, there will be a lot of souls in the underworld. In order to keep it organized, there are many ghost gods running in the underworld. As I said, the underworld is a very complicated system, so I won't go too much into the details. Now, if you're familiar with Asian culture, you've probably heard of the word Yama, and to your surprise, the Yama isn't a leader of the underworld. The underworld is ruled by the Grand Emperor of Fengdu, the supreme leader of all ghost gods. Beneath him are the 5 ghost emperors of the cardinal directions. You know, north, south, west, east, and central. You know, governing their own region. And the most widely known Yamas are just mid-level managers. And there are 10 of them, each in charge of a court of the dead. And they are assisted by the 6 officers of records. And our guy, Zhong Kui, is one of them, a judge. A very violent judge, I may add, as he had zero tolerance for evil, and he would brutally kill the evil ghosts. So he was also considered to be the nightmare of the evil ghosts, and was the most worshipped ghost god by the people, which is, you know, kinda obvious. Otherwise, there wouldn't be this game, right? And let's not forget about the most interesting characters in the underworld, the 10 yin marshals. You know, yin as in yin and yang. In Chinese folklores, yin usually represents the dead, you know, the underworld, as yang represents life, you know, mortal realm. And these 10 yin marshals are the law enforcers of the underworld. In other words, they are in charge of the fight. And their images are scary, but also very cool. I mean, look at them, badass. Among them, the most famous marshals will be the black and white Wuchang. Yeah, black Wuchang and white Wuchang. There's no Asian Wuchang. That's so racist. Nah, just kidding. A 牛头马面, the ox head and horse face. And I think it's safe to say they're definitely gonna be in the game, as they're basically the trademarks of the underworld. It would be very exciting to be able to fight them in the game. You know, that is if it's at all possible. And guys, that was the ghost gods running the underworld. You know, briefly. As you can see, its organization is almost like a government, containing many officials with different responsibilities. And now let's talk about something that probably everyone was curious about, the Chinese version of hell. Like I mentioned before, hell is like a prison where all the evil souls are sentenced to suffer. And by suffer, I mean absolute brutal tortures. In a general belief, there are 18 levels of hell. Each had a unique torture. And the criminals, based on the seriousness of their sins, will be put into a certain level and start their punishment. And these tortures are very scary, such as having your tongue pulled out and grows back and pulled out, you know, non-stop. Or getting fried in a pot, recover, then get fried again. Or just getting straight flayed, and of course recover and getting flayed again. And there are many different versions of the tortures in hell, you know, based on the folklores from different regions. But they all have one thing in common. These tortures all go in cycles for many, many years, like centuries. And yeah, that was the Chinese version of hell. Very disturbing indeed. But hey, that's a good thing though. The whole point of hell is to scare people and make them do good things, right? So So, the scarier the hell is, the more likely people would do good things, especially back in the time. And guys, that was the Chinese version of hell. Maybe not quite what you're expecting, I suppose, but that's how it is. And personally, I really hope the hell is gonna be in the game, as that would be scary but very intriguing. But that's just me though. Please let me know what you think about the Chinese hell in the comment section, guys, and I'll be eager to look at it. Alright, now that we have a basic understanding about Chinese underworld and the hell, let's talk about our guy, Zhong Kui. So who exactly is he? Well, like I mentioned before, Zhong Kui is the most worshipped ghost-catching god in Chinese culture, and his legends and tales have been told for more than 1,000 years. You know, which is longer than the whole history of America. I mean, no offense, but that's just how it is. Anyway, there have been many different versions of Zhong Kui's story, and today we'll be looking at the most commonly known version of it. Zhong Kui was a very clever scholar back in the Tang Dynasty, as he had outstanding talents in writing and poetry, which were the most important skills required to be government officials. So clearly, he had a bright future ahead of him. Very soon, he finished as the Zhuangyuan, the first place in Keju. You know, the big exam to select the officials. As the first place, he got a chance to present himself in front of the emperor. Unfortunately, he had a flaw. His face was very dark, along with a lot of messy facial hair, so he was considered to be very ugly. Wow, when you see it like that, it sounds incredibly racist. But hey, this was in the Tang Dynasty, almost 2,000 years ago. At the time, the Chinese people didn't even know about the black people. So you know, it wasn't about that. But anyway, back to the story. As he was meeting with the emperor really didn't like his face. And he ordered to have Zhong Kui disqualified from the exam. You know, simply because he was not good looking. And Zhong Kui's career was over before it was even started. Of course, Zhong Kui was outrageous. He said, "I'd rather die than being humiliated like this." And he just killed himself in front of the emperor. Yeah, like that. So technically, Zhong Kui was the very first victim from workplace bullying. Yeah, workplace bullying is very bad. And guys, say no to that. Workplace bullying, sexual harassment, all that kind of stuff. Hell, when I go to work tomorrow, I'm gonna tell my boss to suck my dick. Hey boss, if you're watching this, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean any of it. Anyway, back to our story. After he died, of course the emperor regretted it a lot. That was way too mean. Meanwhile, the Jade Emperor of the Celestial Court was impressed by Zhong Kui's hard-working ethic, sense of righteousness, and determination. So he entitled him to be a ghost god. A very unique ghost god, I may add, as he had multiple jobs. He was in charge of catching all the evil ghosts lingering in the mortal realm. In other words, the illegal immigrants. Just kidding. He was the law enforcer as well as the judge, as he would catch the evil ghosts in the mortal realm and bring them back to the underworld and judge them himself. So, like I said, he was a very unique ghost god. He wasn't exactly in the system of the underworld. Instead, he was more like a special agent, responsible for the security of the mortal realm. You know, the guardian of the people, which was why he was the most worshipped ghost god by the people, even though he may not be the most powerful god in the underworld. And, judging by the game trailer, the game will more likely be about the mortal realm. And plus, in Chinese folklore, there's a very big variety of ghosts caused by different ways of death, and usually will have very strong obsessions, and obviously more dangerous in the mortal realm. Because you know, if they are in the underworld, there's a whole army of ghost gods ready to strike anytime. Duh. So guys, be ready to fight all different kinds of scary looking ghosts, as the black myth Zhong Kui is definitely gonna be about that. Well, I'm excited, and I hope you are as well. I mean, judging by how good Black Myth Wukong was, this could be a very good game to look forward to. And of course, a lot more Chinese cultural contents to expect. And that was Zhong Kui, the most worshipped ghost-catching god in Chinese culture. And I hope it can help you understand who he is and what to expect in the game. But anyway, I'm Jade the Storyteller, and thank you for watching this video. For those of you who don't know me, I do storytelling videos like this one to talk about traditional Chinese stories. And right now I'm working on the series of the famous Chinese mythical novel, The Journey to the West, you know, which is what Black Myth Wukong was based on. So if you're interested in that, please go check them out, guys. I mean, they're awesome, and I will really appreciate it. And don't worry, the newest episode is coming right up. It'll just be a few days. Well, 欲知后事如何，且听下回分解。